Dear beloved Creator, we acknowledge you and are thankful for this day, for this gathering, and for the aliveness of our senses. As limited as we are in numbers and perceived power, we are here to move mountains. And we are determined to accomplish this because we really are powerful, more powerful than perception would have us believe. Our inner strength, our fortitude, our unwillingness to compromise, our knowingness of who we are and from where we spring, Lord Creator, has us. Our inner knowingness, our gut feeling, our guidance, our research, integrity, curiosity, our need to know, our breath. It is all you, Divine Creator, and our spirits know. Each and every one of us here present knows our mission to claim who we are and reclaim that which you have given, our birthright, our born rights, and the goodness of humankind when connected. Not just for each of us alone to do this, I'm sorry, not just for each of us alone do we do this, but for every one of the people. We thank you for this mission here now, for our being here now, for our health and endurance and courage. We thank you. It is with great gratitude that we serve in your name. Thank you for our breath that is you. Let it be so, and so it is.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, boss. My name is Ron Vroman. I'm the old white man talking head for the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. Off camera is Lydia from North Dakota. Say hello, Lydia.
Hello.
We've talked several times and we stayed in touch on Skype for must be going on 2 years now.
Yep.
So you've just finished a winter in North Dakota. Tell me a little bit about all that and what happened, because backup is important.
Well, this winter was actually pretty nice, but I was on the road a lot this winter because last fall, a bunch of us got together and we put together an initiated measure to get onto our ballot for election integrity. So I pretty much spent every month of October through would have been about April, going back and forth to our state capital to try and get, or the capital city, to try and get people to sign on our petition so that we can get this on the ballot for the people of North Dakota to vote on election integrity, which would get rid of our ballot or the electronic machines that we have here. It would also force the state to open up all of the precincts. Right now, we've only got about a third of our precincts here in North Dakota that are open. So it means some people have to drive 50 miles or more just to go vote, which forces them into getting a absentee ballot to mail in instead. And we don't want that. We want the absentee will still be available to these people if they can't make it there. So it's like if you're working, some people just can't make it. They work a 12-hour shift, they can't make it to voting day. But the rest of us, there's nothing that's putting us out to get out to that polling place and actually cast a paper ballot. And that's what we want. We want to go back to paper ballots that end up being hand counted on election day and have all those precincts, so 398 precincts opened. And we have a problem in our state also with the fact that many of our county auditors, they've been appointed. We don't get to elect them anymore. Well, we want that back again. We want to be able to put people that we can trust into those positions instead of having people appointed to those positions that we can't really trust all of them.
Are they without an oath or are they with some kind of oath?
Oh my goodness. Most of the people in this state have no oath.
We found the same thing.
In my county alone, 3 of the auditors, for example, or not 3 of the auditors, 3 of our county commissioners had no oath of office. And when I brought that to their attention, instead of them, I told them, what you can do now is you can apologize to the people that elected you for not following through like you were supposed to. Instead, they went and they signed an oath of office over a year past when it was supposed to be done. When I came in and went to their meeting and told them that it was now a theft of office, they just laughed about it. And they said, well, that's the gray area in the law. I said, it's not gray area. It's right there. It says that that oath was supposed to have been signed before you took those seats. If you don't sign it, you stole that seat, and that seat belonged to us.
Exactly.
So you stole that from the people. And so far, they're still thinking it's just a joke. But I think the more people that we can get woke up to the fact that we are the ones that are supposed to be in charge, not some elected official. That person was elected to represent us to the federal government, not to tell us what we can and cannot do here in our state. Because they're letting people get away with everything around here. And it's worse in the capital too. I actually FOIA'd all of our state officials, so our legislators, our judges, and our governor and our attorney general and secretary of state. And there's only 2 judges in our state, 2 district court judges that actually have proper oaths of office. The rest of them did not have proper oaths filed.
Yeah.
So, it's an issue with all over the place. It's county level, state level. A lot of cities don't have people with proper oaths, and they act like it too. They think that they've got the right to break the laws and enforce it on the people instead.
Yeah. We find our sheriff is the same way. How you doing with your sheriffs?
Same here. My sheriff here signed an oath when he was appointed to that position in 2017. And he, even though he's been elected several times since, he has not signed another oath of office. State's attorney as well. She has I think her oath of office is back in 2013, and she hasn't signed a new one since then. And they act that way too. They act like they are above the law when they don't have an oath of office holding them to what they're supposed to be doing.
Can you get 3 more people to go with you?
I've tried, and I'm going to keep trying.
Good. I've been fortunate enough to do that. Cynthia has been fortunate enough to do that. We've got a bunch of people in our assembly that have been fortunate enough to get a crew of 4 together and be a court. It really counts. It makes a hell of a difference.
Yep. It's just so hard to get people to even show up at these meetings.
Oh,
Every
God.
I'm usually the only one at our county commissioners meetings. And I show up and I have my tape recorder along and I tape that meeting and I take notes at the meeting and then I verify what supposedly was said with what gets put in the paper. And many times it does not match up.
Yes. Do they
So
record all of your county commissioners' meetings?
Yep, I do. They don't, but I do. We've asked to have all these meetings recorded and actually broadcast for the public, but they refuse to do it. So it's like, our state says that as long as one person knows that there's a recording happening, and being as I know I'm recording the meeting, I record that meeting. And then I've got that. And I can verify if they have said something and they didn't follow through.
We're finding that they refuse to address the situation.
Yep.
And we're having a really tough time with that. And I think you're going to have a tough time too if you can't get 4 together to have a court.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the only way you're going to get those 4 is what I'm seeing is if they understand what's going on. So they need to educate themselves or actually listen to someone that's trying to educate them on what's going on.
You had like 10 or 15 people at that meeting I addressed one time.
Yep. And that's pretty much crumbled down to maybe 4 or 5.
Wow.
So many of us have just started fighting in our own communities. This past would have been April. Our we're seeing the problems in our school systems too, and they were trying to push a bond through that was going to put a huge tax burden on the town of Harvey, which is a town that's about 22 miles from me. And so we've been working as people in our community to stop a lot of this stuff, and we actually got the bond stopped. It was, when it was
Good
voted on,
job.
the people voted 2/3% no, and only a third of them wanted it. So it's stopped for now, but they're trying to push it through again. So we formed a small group of people that are actually researching other ways to get money for that school. And one of the biggest things is our Constitution says in North Dakota that the state is supposed to provide for the public school systems. And they did not go that direction at all. They did not go to the state, they did not go to the legislators and ask for funds to actually keep these buildings up.
They went
so
to a bond, huh?
Oh yeah, they went straight to a bond, and we're seeing it all over the state. We weren't the only town whose school decided to do this. There's actually about maybe 5 or 6 other schools that decided to do it at the exact same time. So this is a plan that's been in action for a long time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But we got ours stopped. And we're hoping that some of these other towns are able to find a way out of that bond, because most times they don't follow the rules on how they're supposed to present it to the public anyway. And people need to know that they can stand up and say no. They don't just have to go along with this stuff. And that's what we did. We stood up and we said no. We showed up at the forums. We asked them questions, which they didn't really want to answer. And when I asked them about the whole, did you go to the legislators? Well, no, you can't really do that. I said, well, this state constitution says it. So I had the constitution along with me. And I printed the thing out for both parts of our constitution that talk about education. And I said, it says right here that you're supposed to go to these legislators and get the money, because the money's there. It came from all of these school lands that were around the state, and they've got a school land trust. And it's set up for all education in this state. And if they could have a school in every, pretty much 2 schools in every section, and they could support that, they've got the money there to support these schools now. But they're just not putting it where it should be at. And the
I'm so
education
glad you're doing that. Just
Yeah.
really delighted.
I'm glad more people are standing up and calling people out now too.
Are you going to plant the garden crops this year?
Oh yeah. Yep, I'm already getting them ready. My kids have been helping getting some of the beds weeded out. We went today to get some plants because I did not have a chance to start my own plants this year because I was too busy with stuff. But I'm going to plant all of my gardens this year again. That's where I find peace a lot of times in all this hectic world with the craziness that's going on. I will go out and I will just sit out in my garden, and pulling weeds is very therapeutic. It's almost like you're flipping all the troubles out of your day and everything by pulling those weeds out. I wish it was that easy to get rid of the problem people in this state.
Oh my God, yeah, wouldn't that be great? You
Yes.
have a piece of knowledge I'd like you to share with us, and that's on wheat.
Yes.
I like bread, and
Hmm.
I like baked goods.
Yeah.
I don't eat sugar anymore, but I'm reading and seeing every place that wheat is horrible for you. And then I know you know something about wheat, and I would like you to share that with us.
Well, for one thing, the grains that they have right now, they've been genetically modified, so we don't have the same nutritional value in it. But I like to use these ancient grains like emmers and einkorn, kamut and spelt, and so that they can be a better nutritional value to you, you can do a sourdough process with them. And you don't need sugar in your bread. That's the major thing. All you need to make a loaf of bread with this stuff is your wheat, some salt, some water, and either if you want to do yeast, go with yeast or do a sourdough starter. And you have a nutritionally dense bread that has all the different types of vitamins and minerals that you need for your body, and you don't feel like you have to eat as much either, because you take 2 slices of that and you're full, and you don't have issues with your gut or anything when you're using these ancient grains. And they're a whole lot better on the environment too, because you're not having to spray like so many of the farmers do, which is, spraying down for the weeds and stuff. And these ancient grains, they actually have the ability to grow and thrive and survive where they're planted. It'd be nice if more people went back to stuff like that.
So all of these huge thousands of acres wheat farms are planting the modified grain that somebody modified to grow better years ago?
Well, yeah, they've changed the molecular, I can't even say the word now, molecular compounds of the grain. Okay. They did it so that they get what they said was going to be a higher harvest, more grain to harvest. When you're doing that, when you're messing with how the grain is supposed to be growing naturally, it takes down and it removes nutrients in that grain. And we're seeing that with a lot of food, actually. If you look at the vegetables that are growing now compared to the vegetables that were growing 50 years ago, if you've got an heirloom seed vegetable, it has more nutrients in it than something that's been GMO modified. It doesn't have the same kind of nutrients. And our bodies are showing that. So many people are sick. So many people have digestive problems, skin problems. And that's because of the stuff that we eat right now has been tampered with these GMO food, GMO organizations that have changed things. We need to go back to something that's been like an heirloom seed so that we can keep those seeds, we can plant them over and over again, and we can have food for our families and for our communities that is actually good for us.
A friend of mine here on Oregon, a farmer, he died a while back. Most of my friends are dying. Anyhow, he said that all corn was contaminated. There was no good corn left. It has all been modified. What do you say on that?
I have a few friends around here that still grow corn, but they're the Mandan red corn. It's the corn that the Mandan Indians used to grow. And then he grows this Aztec green corn, which is an ancient corn that was grown down in South America. And the only other corn that I know of that is growing is called a yellow dent, and that has not been modified. And when they plant, a lot of these people, when they plant, they try to make sure that they can plant in an area where they're not going to have cross contamination from these GMO corns. So if you can find someone that actually plants in an area that is not close to another GMO farmer, you're fine. But if you've got your corn and then you've got, say, a field a couple over from yours, yeah, it's going to be cross contaminated. And then once we're seeing too, once that corn gets contaminated, you can't keep that seed back and plant it because they've actually put trademarks on seeds. Once they're GMO seeds, they're trademarked. That's wrong. I can remember when I was a kid, my dad used to hold back the wheat and the oats, and we'd be able to plant our grain that we had grown the year before over and over again. We'd keep some of the seed off of it and we'd replant the next year. You can't even do that now with all of these registered corns and registered wheat and everything else that they've got out there. Someone's put their name on it and they say it's theirs, and the only way you can plant it is if you buy it from them.
Even if you have the possession of it.
Yep, even if you have the possession of it. If they've been cross-contaminated, they'll prove it by taking some of your seed and saying, hey, it's the genetic code that was in our seed is in their seed now, so it's our seed and they can't replant it. And that should have never been allowed to happen. But that happened at the federal level when they allow all this stuff to go through.
Do you know about what year they did that?
Not exactly, no. My guess would be way back in the 70s they started with some of this. But majorly it would happen like in 2000 when they were starting to push all the GMO seeds and how they could be planted, how they had to be, harvested and sold and all that stuff.
Monsanto and Roundup and all that came about that time.
Yep, and Bayer actually owns a lot of the pesticides in this United States and around the world, actually. And that's supposed to be everybody thinks of it as the aspirin company. But they create a lot of chemicals that are deadly to people.
What about Monsanto?
Oh, that Monsanto's horrible. They're very good at contaminating stuff.
What do you use as a cash crop out there?
They plant on my land. I share crop with my cousins, so they plant soybeans and wheat. So that's rotated back and forth. But for my family in my yard, my cash crop is my gardens. I grow a lot of produce, and then I can sell it to people at farmers markets, or people come out to the farm and pick and then purchase the stuff that they've picked.
Are they doing similar to what they're doing here on Oregon? They want to stop the small dairy farmers and small farmers completely.
Oh yeah, they are. A lot of these farmers are going to be, especially the ranchers, are going to be put out of business because, was it last month or 2 months ago when they put through that digital ID that all these animals have to carry? Most small farmers can't afford that. And
they actually did that?
Yeah, they've done that. I believe it was done on the federal level. They've been trying to do it for years. I can remember back in the late 1990s, they were trying to push that through, where every animal that you owned had to have some sort of digital ID. But then they kind of backed off on it, and now I see they've pushed it through. And that is going to kill people's farms, because you cannot afford to have every single one of your livestock registered, not unless you want total government control. And that's our biggest problem in the United States, is government is controlling everything that we do.
Yeah, but Bessie the cow is not numbered. Bessie has a name.
Yep. But they want them numbered. They want them to carry an electronic tag so that they know every place that Bessie went.
And
but
you're saying you can't refuse that now? They tell you
Yeah.
can't refuse that.
That's what they're saying now, is that you cannot refuse that. Like, it shouldn't matter if that cow was born and raised and lives on your land that whole time. That should not matter, because you take
Exactly.
that animal. You know if there's anything wrong with that animal. It's these huge ranchers that have thousands and thousands of head of cattle that are, a lot of them are just doing more like feedlots than actually ranching. There I can see where you want to know what's going on with the livestock. But the government should not have the right to get their nose into our business. It's
What about
ours.
all these free range cattle they have out in Nevada and Eastern Oregon?
Yeah, I don't really know about free range. We're not allowed to free range anything here as far as cattle goes. Everything has to be in fenced areas, and it has to be on your land. And if you run it on government land, it can only be there for so long. And I think you have to have a list of all the cattle that you run on the government land when you're running them on that here in North Dakota. But I'm sure if it's cattle running in other states, they're going to find a way that they have to be tagged.
They must have a way. I'm going to get a hold of Clive and Bundy because they were out rounding up feral cattle.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if after they round up the feral cattle, if they have to ear tag them or something.
Well, I would assume so. Most cows do have an ear tag or a brand. And I wonder if they're not, like how they do with pets now, where they put a chip in them. I wonder if they're not doing that with cattle now too. Because
Yeah, me too.
Look at all the people that have accepted the fact to be chipped. Why would they want to do that?
They think it's a good idea. They really do.
I know, but they're also thinking inside of a tight little box. They're not thinking that the government would actually do something to harm them.
Well, they don't believe that.
Yep. Well, that's too bad. They need to open their eyes and see that that's what's going on.
It's a belief system. I'm positive of it. There's totally without evidence. I was pretty much on that whole team until 2014 when I finally got off it. But up until that time, I was having a horrible time trying to make all this stuff figure out.
No, it's I've had a problem with the government thinking they have the right to control everything that we do for quite some time. Because, our Constitution says that we have the right to freedom of ourselves and our property. And people just don't think of the fact that when they're paying, for instance, their property tax, they can't tell me that in our Constitution it says that we're supposed to be paying property tax.
It says just the exact opposite.
Exactly. But people, they won't give it up because they said, well, we have to. If we don't do that, we won't have schools, we won't have roads, we won't have. It's like, well, right now we're paying property tax and our roads aren't good and our schools aren't good because the kids are educated so poorly in these public schools that they're like 30% and 20% or 40% in math and reading. But our states have so much money stockpiled, but it's never being used for the people where it's supposed to be at. And this paying our property tax, if you don't do it, you lose it in 3 years. That's ridiculous. We looked in our county a couple months ago, and in the past 10 years, there's been 240 properties taken because of non-payment of property tax. So that's
in your county.
In my county here, yeah. That's just one county of 53.
240 properties sold.
Yep.
We're having a big problem here on Oregon. When the sheriff sells the property, what do they do with the equity that the owner had in the property? Up until recently, the state has been keeping that.
I believe that's the same thing that still happens here. Like, say that person owed, maybe $3,000, and they went and sold that property for 20 or so thousand. I don't think the people are getting that money back. So they've paid off their property. It's theirs, but being they didn't pay their state rent, which is property tax, it gets stolen.
Yep. You have the same problem we do.
Yep. I think every state has that problem that has property tax.
Yep.
That's another thing they're trying to work on here in North Dakota to get rid of. We've given it to the legislators several times to do their job and get rid of it. They haven't, so they've got a initiated measure going on for that right now too, to get on the ballot so the people can vote for it.
What's the ratio Democrats to Republicans?
I would say we are 75% Republican and 25% Democrat.
And the Republicans are doing that to you guys?
Well, yeah, because a lot of the Republicans are rhinos.
Oh, shit.
So they're only Republican in name only.
Yeah.
And if you look at it with that mentality, then we're about 50-50 Republican and Democrat. Because a lot of these people that run as Republicans, they only do it because they know they can get elected that way. They won't get elected as a Democrat.
Then they vote Democrat.
Yep. Yep. We actually have seen that a lot around the state. you can see, someone had done up a thing on the bills and how the legislators voted. And we've only got a few of these Democrats, but when you look at how the Republicans voted compared, they're voting Democrat. So many of them are voting Democrats, so they might as well just call themselves Democrats, but they tell their people that they're Republicans. And unless people start to look at their true voting record and how they vote against the people instead of for things that would help people by cutting government, they'll never know the difference.
Yeah, people don't want to know. So, have you guys figured out any solutions for your particular area and how to make things better for your neighbors? You did a good job on the school district in one town.
Yep,
Can you roll that and make it more?
yeah, we're letting other people know what we did and what we're doing. So hopefully they can follow suit too. But it takes people in those communities, just like in our community here, to actually get together with other people to look for solutions instead of depending on like their city officials to find solutions or these schools to find solutions, because they're not going to look for anything that's going to be beneficial to the people. They're just going to look for something that's quick and easy. And we need them to learn that you can't just go with the quick and easy. You got to follow the rules of whatever has been put in place in this state and look toward, what the Constitution says. We also need to get these people in this state and every other state to know what the Constitution even says, because so many of them don't.
Can you drag 5 or 6 people out of that group that fought the school bond?
Might be able to.
Because I really do believe that 5 of you, if you just got on it, 15 hours total work, you guys could get all the paperwork done in 30 days.
Yep.
And when all the paperwork's done, and we have a court here,
Mm-hmm.
and you have access to the court, provided your people, and that's basically what you have to do is make sure you're one of the people and not a person.
Yep.
And just it's not really that tough. And I'm sure you guys could knock it out.
Yeah, nothing stops us from trying, at least.
Either me or somebody from our assembly will do whatever we can to assist you if you get to the spot where you want some.
Mm-hmm. That would be great.
Good. I was wondering what kind of a vehicle you drive.
I have a Subaru that I'm borrowing from my sister right now.
Subaru is a good car.
Yeah, it's been turned over 200 and some thousand miles already, so it's still running.
You guys got a long distance between places in North Dakota, don't you?
Well, bigger towns, yeah. I have to drive about an hour and 45 minutes to get to Bismarck from here. If I want to go to Minot, it's about an hour and 45 minutes. If I go to Fargo, it's about a 3-hour drive. So bigger towns that have quite a few amenities are between at least a half hour to 45 minutes at the shortest distance, but not the big towns are the ones that are a ways away from me. But that's fine. I don't really need to go to town. I tend to raise most of the stuff that I need. I bake it if we need it to be replaced and stuff. So
How many kids you still got at home?
3 I still have. The oldest is helping out around here. She does not want to go to college because she's not seeing anything good there with college. But she helps out around the farm here, so that helps me a lot.
Are there any Norwegian bachelor farmers up in your area?
There might be, but a lot of them don't like stubborn Germans, so.
I was wondering if they all stopped in Minnesota or if they dribbled over into North Dakota.
Oh, there's a lot of Norwegians here in North Dakota. Actually, quite a few of my neighbors are Norwegian.
I have to go now, but I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
You're
And
welcome.
I'd like to publish this if it's okay with you.
That's fine.
All right. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying, and then he jumps out of the car, and he's got both his hands up.
And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want, to shoot me. And they did. They shot him dead. With his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, shot him 3 more times.